Hi everyone, it's Lynn from Hey Lynn Vintage and welcome back to another Retro Cooking Wednesday. Today we are doing Golden Gate snack bread. I don't know how it ended up with that name. It was known as Nippy onion, blustery cheese, no kneading quick bread, and something made with soup mix. So we ended up with Golden Gate snack bread made by Petrelli. She did win the $25,000. This is the first time the Bake-Off is no longer known as the Grand National Bake-Off. It is just considered the Bake-Off, except for this one is considered the Busy Lady Bake-Off. So it's supposed to be like scratch baking, Pillsbury shortcut, ways to get your food on the table in shortcut ways. One of the other things I wanted to point out about the this now being just known as the Bake-Off, again, this is another time that the winning recipe is not on the little booklets that they have. It is actually the Tunnel-of-Fudge cake, which is still like the most asked for recipe from the Bake-Off. So the Tunnel-of-Fudge cake did make it on the front cover, but we do have the Golden Gate that won the Bake-Off. So let's get to that ingredient table and see what is in this great snack bread. Ingredients that we need for Golden Gate snack bread: 3½ cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, 2 packets of yeast, 1 cup of warm water, I'm sure that's to get this stuff to get going, and 2 tablespoons of butter. So this called for processed cheese, also for our bread. You know, those little pub cheeses are like $4 and they are only 5 ounces. So I would have had to buy 2, $8. So we grabbed this Cheese Whiz. I mean, how much more processed can you get? Let's see if this will work, because this was only $3 for, I don't know, how many ounces is this? I have flour on my hand. 15. So we only need half of that jar. And then we are going to make a filling out of 3 tablespoons of onion soup mix and a 1/4 cup of butter. So let's get this a-rising. Large bowl, combine flour, 3½ cups. Throw that all in there. 2 tablespoons of sugar. And your 2 packets of yeast. And then let it mix well. Get that all in there. So then we are going to, on the stovetop, heat up our butter and our water to like 120 degrees. So let's get that heated up. All right, we got our 1 cup of water, our 2 tablespoons of butter here. We just want this to heat up to 120 to 130 degrees, and then we will add it to our flour. Okay, so we have 1½ cups of flour in here, our sugar and our yeast. I misspoke when I said 3½ cups. We're going to add 2 cups later. So with this 1½ cups of flour, we are then going to add our liquid. Make sure this is between 120 and 130 degrees. So that was our 1 cup of water and our 2 tablespoons of butter that we kind of melted. We're just going to get this kind of sticky. Let this stir around until it gets really sticky. And then we are going to add our 8 ounces of cheese to this. So I'm just going to start putting that in there. I'm just going to add half of that Cheese Whiz jar to this. Making sure that we got about 8 ounces of it in here. I think this was like a 15-ounce container. Gotta love you some Cheese Whiz. Okay, so that is about our 8 ounces of Cheese Whiz in there. I used about half of the jar. And then we are going to add our flour. So now I'm just going to slowly add the other 2 cups of flour to this mixture. And just let it all come together. Okay, so we got our nice stiff dough formed. I just sprayed this plastic wraps with some cooking spray. We're just going to cover this. I'm going to put a towel over this just so the plastic wrap doesn't stick. And we're going to let this rise for 30 minutes and come back. Usually for me, it takes longer. So we'll come back probably within the hour. So our dough is nice and doubled and bubbly. So we're going to punch that down. So then we're going to take our 1/4 cup of butter, and it says 3 tablespoons of onion soup mix. This is 1 ounce, which is 2 tablespoons. So we're going to use this, the whole packet, and we're going to add that to this. Mix it together. That will be our filling. Just mix that all together in with, I just have a fork. The butter is soft. So we got that all mixed up. That will be our filling that we will spread in the center of our dough. All right, dough is all punched down. We are going to roll this into a 20 by 14 inch square with our little rolling pin. Let's get it rolled out. So then it just says to spread. We've got our 20 by 14 inch spread with the filling. And because we're going to roll it from the 14-inch side, I'm just going to try and, I guess, get it more on this end because there's not enough to spread this whole thing with some of this filling. So I'm just going to kind of leave it at this end and see what I can do from there. All right, we spread it all over with the onion stuff. We are supposed to start to roll it from this end all the way up. So we're going to roll this way. So let's get this rolled, and then I think we cut it in half. So let's get this rolled, and we'll show you how it's cut in half. All right, so we've got it all rolled. I've been tucking the ends in, and then it says to cut it in half lengthwise. So to me, this would be lengthwise. So I'm going to cut this whole thing right down in half. All right, so we're going to place it cut side up onto our baking sheet. And if you're just using your baking sheet, you're going to want to have that greased. I have some parchment paper down. And we're going to cover it back up and let it rise again for another 30 minutes. All right, so we've let these double in size. We are going to put these in the oven, 350 degree preheated oven for 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, so my thoughts on our Golden Gate snack bread. I think, well, a couple things that I probably did wrong because my dough was a little bit wet. I think the pub cheese, had I have used that in the dough instead, it probably wouldn't have been as wet. So I did end up adding a little bit more flour. I think it turned out fine. I mean, they just said processed cheese. So how much more processed can you get than with Cheese Whiz? So I did use that. I mean, I just had to add a little bit more flour to it, but it was still fine. The soup mix is very strong flavored, a little bit too strong for me. Scott loved it. He absolutely loved it. It is kind of cool how, you know, you roll it and then you cut it in half. So then you have all these layers that are there. That was really interesting to me. I would make it again. They didn't really tell you how to put the filling. I mean, it's got to be, when you look at all the pictures, it has to be spread out on that whole entire dough. I would probably use more butter, maybe less soup mix, just to kind of like make sure that it evenly spreads. I did end up using half of the other packet to make sure that I spread it out onto that whole piece of dough. But it was, I mean, it was good. It was different. Just a little salty for me. That's, you know, I mean, not a big deal. Just like I said, I would add more butter to the stuff in the middle, the filling. And I don't, you know, I didn't look up what we're doing next week. So we'll have to find out together. So with that being said, this is Lynn from Hey Lynn Vintage. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, you guys. Thank you so much. See you next week on another Retro Cooking Wednesday. Bye.